Alright, hey guys, wanted to talk to you today about Scrim culture and some different things regarding Scrim. This all kind of spawned from seeing a thread where Scrims were being leaked about GGA, and to be honest, it got me quite upset, especially because there's a group of players who are basically plotting against another team. I guess because they hate the fact that they're an academy team, and come on, man, it's so fucking petty. Like, sharing scrims with one another, basically revealing strats of this one team because you don't like them because they're getting paid and you're not. That's really fucking low to me. And I don't know if I was on any of those teams and I was looking for players in the future, any of those people who leaked, get the fuck out of here. You're not going to be on my team. That's so low. There's an unspoken rule in scrims, which is you play against teams, you don't reveal each other's strats. Maybe you can take strats from the teams that you play, but the whole point of revealing strats to one another and practicing those things is, hey, I want to practice something. I'm not going to release it to the other guy. You're going to practice with me. You're not going to release it to my enemies, basically. And so the whole idea of like basically plotting against them, this has got to be like long term as well, because you don't just collect all their strats and then reveal it with one another and then go out public with it. Like, I don't know, man. It makes me feel like shit because the players on GGA obviously weren't doing anything wrong. They were just playing scrims, and because they're in trials, they're just getting plotted against by all the other teams. That's really 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 low to me. So I hate it. So I don't know. It's making me feel like shit, honestly, because I've seen it done a few times now. So with my teams personally, and I think the players that go behind, like the staff's back and do it, and the staff members that do it behind the players' back, it's really low, man. Like, the people also try to be like super sneaky and like fucking snake like with it, because they try to like be like, ooh, maybe I'll trade VODs, maybe I can sneak this strat from this other team. It's like, come on, man. There's other ways to scout and plan against other teams. Why do you gotta like? This is cheating, basically, to me. It feels like cheating because no one knows you're doing it, and it gives you an unfair advantage. So, I don't know. I hate it. There's ways to scout. Someone also asked, what are the ways to scout outside trading for VODs? Which, I mean, come on, man. Trading for VODs. There's other ways to scout. So, if you've played the team in the past. So, if you're any of these other teams and you've ever scrimmed GGA, like I imagine a lot of the Trials teams have in the past, maybe not recently, but I imagine they have, and even when my team was in trials, we played against the other trials teams. Like, it's very weird. But if you've played them in the past, it's not like they're going to change that much. Sure, the meta might change, but some of the heroes remain the same. You can watch player tendencies, rotations, depending on the maps. Maybe there's some map crossover, so you can see what they did on certain maps. You can study that. If they're going to repeat it again, now you'll know. You can see what players prefer to play. You can do that from the scrims that you've played against them. You can do that from officials you've seen them play in. And then you can also do that in just like solo queue games, like ladder games, pugs, watch their streams, different things. Like, all of this is just information that you can gather that is public and that you can use to plan against another team. Also, with the officials, you can see what they did, like what they have like preferences for, the map types also. So if you play a team and they have a higher win rate on certain maps, maybe they look better on certain maps, you can show that as like, all right, this is their strength, this is what we need to work on versus this team. So say GGA is, I haven't studied them enough, so I would say, just as a random example, maybe they're a really good 2CP team, maybe they're a really good escort team. What would you do? You could have the decision of, okay, to scout them, we see that they're good at these, then you can choose, okay, we will practice escort a little bit, practice 2CP a little bit, but we will work on the other maps to try to win out in a series. So we'll work on trying to win the hybrid map, and then both the Koth or whatever, yeah. I got brain farting at the time, but yeah, you can be like, okay, we'll try to 3-2 this series, we'll try to win both Koth, and we'll try to win the hybrid. And that can be your plan going into it. But the trading of I hate it, honestly. Also, there's this culture of teams, so I want to change the subject a little bit because I'll just keep ranting about it, but what teams work on. So the infamous conversation that players will always have with people who are interviewing them or people who just want to talk smack is, man, we're dominating scrims. We have like 90% win rate. Every team is losing to us in scrims. No one is tryharding always in scrims, always. That's an extreme fallacy. I don't know of teams that will 100% show up to scrims, be ready, and playing them like a tournament match always. You can have your coach tell you that. You can be on a team, and your team might say that. But some players will slack because they know it's a scrim. They won't try as hard. Some players will play an off meta pick. Some players will play heroes they don't normally play because their coach told them to play that. Some teams will practice strategies they haven't played as much or they're trying to work on that aren't as good, so they will look like a worse team, but they are working on them to improve them so that they can be better at them. This idea that every team just shows up to scrims playing their 100% best heroes, 100% practiced maps, practiced strats all the time is complete lunacy. Like, that doesn't exist. So quoting that you're beating teams doesn't mean anything if every single team you're playing against is practicing a new strategy and you're playing an old strategy that you're good on but practiced on it, and then in the future they can just use that new strategy that they've been practicing to dominate you in an official match. Doesn't matter if you win all your scrims. If you lose your officials, then you're a bad team. So I don't like the idea that like we're dominating scrims as an idea. Also, sometimes teams have subs, teams have ringers, teams aren't playing their most optimal roster. So, I don't know. I don't like it. Talking about them. So this also kind of ties to it, but it ties to both topics. Is like you really shouldn't talk about scrims that much. We're in an esports and we're in a landscape where teams can't practice with themselves as efficiently. There's a few owl teams who can. Even then, it's not the most optimal practice in the world. We're in a sport where basically you have to play with other teams to practice how you would normally practice. Like the highest level of practice is scrims. We aren't in soccer where you can do passing drills and scrim internally. Football, hockey, tennis, all these different sports, there's a bunch of different things that where they can just practice and it can be completely internal and the coaches can talk to both sides of the players. They can tell them what to do. You can run drills with your teammates. We don't have that luxury of being able to have that amount of players because it's new. We don't have as many high level players. It's hard to get internal scrims like that unless you're at the very highest level. So talking about them, you can't really talk about them. You shouldn't talk about them. Like, you shouldn't reveal strats of other teams. You shouldn't really talk about scrim results unless it's like a very general thing saying like we're doing good in scrims, we're having a bit of issues, communication issues, very basic things like that. I know fans sometimes want to know more, but you need to keep that stuff pretty secretive because no team should just be sharing that information. We're all in the same boat. We all have to scrim against each other. It's not worth it basically sabotaging other teams because you'll end up sabotaging yourself because teams will be like, okay, they leak and just talk about everything. We're just not going to play them because we don't want our stuff to be leaked. So players shouldn't be talking about them that in depth. No one should be sharing them. I hate the notion that people are sharing scrims. There's other ways to be a better team. I feel like this is just like a conniving, short-ended way that can damage you in the future because orgs that see that you're like this, no one's going to want to play with you. The owl teams, the higher up teams in every single other game, they don't share scrims, and the notions and like the examples of them doing so got them punished really, really harshly. So don't share scrims.